Once upon a time, a historian told me that the most important choice a new historian could make was of his or her specialist subject. Most of the good stuff was far too overcrowded, so you had to pick about in the exotic and extinct. His recommendations were the Picts or the Minnows, because hardly anything was known about them, and you could spend a happy lifetime of speculation. Thank the members of the Romantic movement for the sober colors of suits. It was their love of the Gothic that put us in gray and black, but the suit stuck. When Americans come to London, they usually say how much they love the history, the tradition, the splendid tumty-tum of things whose very repetition has become their point. Margaret Thatcher was as viscerally hated at home as she was warmly respected abroad. The measure of a man's life is how he copes with the terrible wall of fear. You don't have a choice about fashion or aesthetics. You're in it, whether you like it or not. I've often been accused of dressing too well. I've always been fascinated by fashion, though I don't think I'm particularly fashionable. Have you ever wondered why the rich and privileged care about, or even bother with, the gift bag? Because they don't need this stuff. If they wanted it, they could afford to buy it without blinking. But they love the gift bag beyond reason. Cowboy boots you can't wear unless you actually are a cowboy or in a status quo tribute band. Or over 60, there's something about a retiring gent in cowboy boots that looks sort of presidential. If you're bored, it's because someone else is fulfilling his dream. They come aboard. It's the most interesting thing you'll ever do. I don't know if English is the only language where some expressions only and solely mean the opposite of what they say, but we do have an awful lot of them. Penicillin and plastic bags help a lot. Fridges and hot water make manliness more comfortable, and Tom Ford's fragrance range makes it smell better. But the idea that has pushed our lives into the light more than any other ism or ology is feminism. The Lib Dems are sidekicks. They were born to be sidekicks, and that's what they should concentrate on being. When you look at traditions closely, examine what they really are, you realize they're made up of layers and layers of deferrals, delays, and decisions, tomorrows and long lunches. Hate numbs the judgment, paralyzes the vitals of democracy. Only people who live outside cities realize the size of them. London turns out to be huge. There are great swaths, vast panoramas, a whole diaspora I'd never imagined. The place I live in tends to be manageably small, a few familiar journeys and destinations. I'm too vain to go on TV. I'd be a monster of self-consciousness. Plus, I've got a ridiculous voice. I sound like a camp friend of Bertie Wooster's. It's not in the nature of stoic cincinnations to boast, which is fortunate, really, for they have meager pickings to boast about. Being able to afford everything you desire is not, by any means, the worst thing that can happen to you. But, depressingly, and more profoundly, neither is it the best. Suits are malevolent magicians' sleeves for socialists, full of patrician loops and tricks, small, embroidered, cryptic messages of deference and privilege. They are ever the uniform of the enemy. They are also the greatest British invention ever. Every man imagines that he will turn his suit like a double agent, that it can be twisted to his will with irony or comedy, that the man can undermine its origins. Gordon Brown is a character from a tragic opera, twisted by ambition and a Presbyterian sense of fateful destiny. He has waited 13 years, mostly in Tony Blair's shadow, for this poison chalice, and has a pessimist's luck. There's no pleasing the British or winning their favor. They simply hate politicians. All politicians. Hatred goes with politicians like mint sauce with lamb. It's as old as parliaments. The reason that chefs become chefs is that they're not allowed into rooms with windows. Like most parents, I've been stumped by homework. The big questions, such as, what is the point of geography? The pilot always knows where we are going. Answer: if you didn't know any geography, people would think you were an American, and you wouldn't be able to put them right because you wouldn't know where they live. The usual sniggering examples of animal behavior were brought in to explain cheating. Funny how the behavior of shrews and gibbons is never used to explain table manners or road safety or gardening. Only sex. Anyway, it was bad Darwinism. Taking the example of a monkey and applying it to yourself misses the point that animal behavior is made for the benefit of the species, not as an excuse for the individual. Being incapable of sustaining a stable pair and supporting children is really not in the interests of our species. Neither is it really in the best interests of the philanderer. Texting isn't writing. It's not like letter writing. Texting is short script writing. It's a collaborative soap opera where nothing happens. The London police have discovered that the best way to neuter demonstrations is not to move everyone on, or disperse troublemakers, but hold them close, cordon them into a diminishing space for hours and hours, as a sort of arbitrary al fresco arrest. The suit is the polite taming, the socializing, the neutering of riding in military kit. Those pointless buttons on the cuff were moved from lateral to vertical. One of the small joys that's easy to miss in London is the blue plaques on buildings. These are put up to commemorate the famous on the houses they lived in. No British TV company could ever make a series like The West Wing about British politics. It would beggar credibility. No one could write it with a straight face or perform it without giggling. The truth is, a mayor can actually do very little to alter the course of a huge city run by the free market that is home to banking, the engine room of capitalism. If New York is a wise guy, Paris a coquette, Rome a gigolo, and Berlin a wicked uncle, then London is an old lady who mutters and has the second sight. She is slightly deaf and doesn't suffer fools gladly. People collect boredom. They hoard it, they wallow in it, hoping that one day it'll be of interest and become an effete ennui. Let me tell you, it doesn't. The French are never happy coming to London. This is an ancient and comforting enmity. I don't do dinner parties. I have people come to share the food I've cooked for the family. I can tell very quickly when people are lying. No 13-year-old or over should ever be seen in trousers that finish above the ankle. It doesn't matter how good your legs are, or if you're on a beach in Bermuda where they invented the things. Men and women understand different things about personal boundaries. What men call privacy, women know as secrecy. Clothes maketh the man. They don't make you some other man. Gift-giving is one of the oldest forms of human interaction. It is a behavior all cultures and all classes share. Really, I like the future. I appreciate my automatic alarm call necklace in case I get lost and confused in a mall. I appreciate the watch that tells the hospital my blood pressure's gone ballistic. I like my computer, just as long as it doesn't get ideas above its workstation. To a British politician, a police officer is as invisible as the railings. A lot of London's image never was. There never was a Dickensian London, or a Shakespearean London, or a swinging London. Frightened is the natural state for all men. For men, privacy means not being told stuff that would hurt. For women, secrecy is having stuff go on behind your back. I don't have prejudices against anybody. I have opinions based on a lifetime's experience. The Creation Museum isn't really a museum at all. It's an argument. It's not even an argument. It's the ammunition for an argument. It is the word made into bullets, an armory of righteous revisionism. The super rich watch each other like envious owls to see who's got a slightly better loafer, a pullover made from some even more absurdly endangered fur. They will go to any lengths to find the best tailors. Mr. Obama is the only popular politician left in the world. He would win an election in any one of the G20 countries, and his fellow world leaders would will do anything to take home a touch of that reflected popularity.